Trevor from the Who You Know podcast. I am so excited to have you here and sharing why podcasting.
Yeah, podcasting is it's a networking superpower. I love it because I get to build relationships with some people that normally I wouldn't be able to reach. I'm sure you've had some people on your
Hmm.
podcast over the years that, wow, I actually got to take an hour of their time. Like I got to do an interview with Grant Cardone, and this guy's a multi-billionaire, and I mean, he's just a real estate mogul. And
Hmm.
anyway, I got to get in his space and his sphere. And since then, I was able to interview him, his wife, Elena, his daughter, Sabrina. Like I'm in the circle now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's like, wow, through the power of a podcast that I'm able to build these solid relationships with people that are doing next level stuff. Right.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I just posted because I did a pre-call with a podcaster just to be a guest on her show. And as we started talking, she started kind of sharing. She was like, "Oh, you started out in Hollywood," and I was like, "Yeah, I was a screenwriter. I had my first feature film produced." She's like, "Oh, I know these people, and I know these people." And I was thinking, "Oh my gosh, I had a few clients turn down her podcast because she was too small. She was in top 5% ranking, but still a smaller podcast." I'm like, "You never know who you know."
Absolutely. And I will tell you, it's 1000% like a stair step. Okay. I look back and I've been doing the show now for 6.5 years. Okay. So January of 2018 is when we got started. Done over 500 episodes. But like I look at it and I go, wow, that first episode to where we're at now. And it's just a stepping stone. You all of a sudden it's like you're adding certain guests that have been on your show. It's kind of like a resume, right? Like, I've had the Grant Cardone, I've had Rachel Cruz, who's Dave Ramsey's daughter. Like I'm working on Dave Ramsey now. Like, I'm getting like every little interview is a stepping stone to the next bigger, better guest that can come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so again, it's a networking superpower. And all of a sudden, when people see, they go, "Wow, you've had this person, this person, this person, this person." Yeah, I'll do it. It's like, yeah, if Grant did it, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? Becomes a no brainer for a lot of these folks. And so, anyway, the power of association. It's
The
huge.
power of association is incredibly huge, especially because I always say podcasters, they talk to a lot of people.
Hmm.
Like we speak to people on the regular, and that circle is constantly up leveling because in entrepreneurship, you are the five people that you most surround yourself with. But those people can also be in your head too on
Hmm.
podcasts, and then the ones that you're going on their shows, building those relationships. So I'd love to know from you, how do you further the relationships once you know somebody on a podcast?
Yeah, great question. I'll give you an example. So, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Amberly Lago, but she has a top 1% podcast, True Grit and Grace.
Mhm.
And she's one of the top keynote speakers, in the world. And like she's an awesome person, best-selling books and all this kind of stuff. Was on a book launch with her and a whole bunch of other people I'd never met before, but it was because it was Heather Monahan's book launch, and she just came out with her new book, and so we were all supporting her and encouraging her and helping her launch her book. Anyway, I meet Amberly on this book launch. She tells her story about how she got into a motorcycle accident and almost lost her leg and all this and that, and like it was a big deal. And I'd been in a motorcycle accident, and so we instantly connected. Like I knew what she was going through, and I was like, "Hey, I want you to come on my show." Anyway, we did a collaboration. I did her show, she did my show. You start to build some bond there, and then outside of the podcast, I use this formula, pushing power to power, right? So at that time, we were using a studio out here called Real News PR, and it was a multi-camera, I had like 4 cameras. I mean, like really, really nice. You could even bring in a live studio audience. So
Oh,
when
wow.
I had her on my show, I put together a live studio audience for her, so we filled the studio, multi-cameras, like lights, camera, action, right? It was on. It was, not like some of these remote interviews. It was next
Mhm.
level, right? So anyways, we did that, and I put together some really nice content for her, like, next level stuff, and I even went and created some speaker reels for her and created a whole bunch of stuff from it that was way above and beyond what anybody would normally do on a podcast. And I sent her all this stuff, and again, I was just pushing power to power because I knew, first of all, I really just loved her, she was amazing, but I also knew that, like, her sphere of influence, her circle, right, the people she was connected with, she's on some of the biggest stages in the world, she's speaking with Ed Milet, and she's crushing it. People I would love to have on my podcast, right? So anyway, I'm pushing power to power, I'm sending her things that are valuable to her, have value more than just above and beyond. And I'm not trying to charge or anything like that. And I was just asking simply for her feedback. So she was like, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe you did that. Like, I sent her a bunch of really, really high quality stuff. And then she was like, wow, I can't believe you did that. Next thing you know, she buys me a ticket to a Tony Robbins conference. And we go to Tony Robbins together, me, her, and another girl that's out here that real close with. And we all go to Tony Robbins together. And you talk about building a relationship. We're jumping up and down, Tony Robbins. Okay. Like, we're so close. I love her. She's like one of my favorite people in the world. Amberly Lago, shout out to you. But I would say that the moral of that whole story is push power to power. What can you do to add value to someone else's life? What can you do that can make their life easier or provide them value? And that's how you really strengthen relationships. That's what networking is.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of my favorite concepts is from Joe Polish, and it's from his book, What's in It for Them, which is basically the
Mm,
entire concept of the book of what's in it for the other person. What's
mhm.
the value that you're providing and leaning in with value and service first,
Yep.
not like, what can I get from you by being on your show? Like that level of takership, I think that it creates just a lot of relationships, like nobody in a personal romantic relationship wants to be in a relationship with the taker who, hey,
Mhm.
let me do everything for you and then you barely even thank me, versus we want to be in that go-giver sort of
The
relationship.
go-giver, yeah. Well, and I took it, like, I'll tell you, a step further. So, let's fast forward. Now me and Amberly, right? We're really good friends. We've done a lot of events together. She's spoken at one of my events. We've collaborated a lot. We're, like, super close, you know? So, but I'm still aware that she's a few levels ahead of me in the game.
Mhm.
Okay. And I'm always like, I don't want to come off as a leech ever. I want to be a giver always. I don't ever want to come off as a leech, but she's got some things that, like, I want to still pick her brain in a lot of ways, but I don't want to come off as a leech. Okay, ever. And so I called her and was very transparent with her. I said, Amberly, you're crushing it. And I just got to give you your roses, number one. Like, you're just absolutely crushing it. And I'm gonna ask a favor. I need your help. There's some things that you're doing right now that, like, I wanna be doing, and I know you have the blueprint. But at the same time, I don't wanna be a taker. So I wanted to throw a creative spin on this so that it becomes a win-win. Would that be okay with you if I shared that with you? She was like, yeah, because I understand she's super busy right now. She's getting pulled in a million different directions. When you become successful, like, you get pulled in a million different directions. So everybody's wants to pick your brain, right? Everybody was. So, I was like, well, let's do this. Why don't we have a podcast episode where it's an extra long one? Like, we could do like a 2-hour episode. Okay. And, like, I want you to coach me live. I want you to coach me, and we'll do a live studio audience, and I want you to coach me up, and I'm going to be a sponge so that I'm able to get the information I need, but you're also able to showcase your authority and your expertise and what you do in front of a live audience. And that content will be really good for you as well. Right. And I said, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for the studio time, all that stuff. Like, let's create a
Mm.
win-win. She loved it. She was like, absolutely. That sounds amazing. So, and this is after the relationship's already been formed and bonded and everything. I was still cautious of, like, hey, you don't want to take advantage ever.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's just another example of how you strengthen relationships. How can you figure out how to create win-wins for people? How can you figure out how to push value to people? And so just a couple of tips that I would give.
Yeah, I think the win-win mindset is so crucial because when you go win-lose, everybody
Yep.
loses. And I've seen that with many podcasters and guests alike who treat a podcast interview like a transactional relationship versus one that can be transformational. And literally, it can up-level your entire circle. It can change your entire life from one interview because of who you know.
Mm, so true. I will ask you, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, yeah.
Your show. So remote interviews like this
Hmm.
can be more transactional,
They can be.
especially when you're leveling up your guests, right? Like, I'll give you an example. I just had Rachel Cruz on the show. That's Dave Ramsey's daughter. She's a high profile guest. There were gatekeepers along the way, the entire way, right? I get her on when it's time to record, and then that's it, right?
Hmm.
So, what would you recommend in formulating and trying to formulate and strengthen a relationship with somebody when they got the gatekeepers and things like that? And it's a remote. Obviously, if it was in person, it's going to be a lot different. It's going to be
Yeah.
a lot easier to strengthen that relationship with her. You know, a lot of other things you can do in person, but through a remote interview like this, anything that you would recommend?
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to building that trust and also when you're on the interview as I'm listening to what someone is saying I'm thinking, oh, who do I know that where's a problem, where's a pain point that maybe we can address on the interview, or if I hear something that I'm like, oh, maybe this person could be a solution or a resource or a connection that could be of value. I then make that offer at the end to continue adding that value because I always end my podcast about 10-15 minutes. I leave that space. It's scheduled, so it's still in the space, but I leave that 10-15 minutes for discussion of other ways that I can contribute to your success
Mm,
beyond the scope of the podcast. And if there's something that I fully feel and have like extracted from the interview, not in a form of, and this is, I want to be very clear with our listeners, this is not, because I've seen this done with podcasters, especially in the coaching industry, who then extract something manipulating and say, oh, I think you'd be great for my relationship resilience coaching or whatever thing you're selling because
mhm.
you've shared vulnerable, authentic stories on a show, which is gross. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, sharing vulnerable, authentic stories is wonderful. Having it be manipulated at the end by the host to say, okay, let's see how I can add value by selling you my services, that's gross. But what I have seen is in that conversation of saying, hey, you mentioned that you were working on this project or this thing, and I know someone who's doing this. Would that be a valuable connection for me to make? Great. If yes, awesome. I always look to add value beyond the scope of the show.
Yeah.
Virtual, in person, whatever way possible, because that's what builds a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you did it to me pre-interview, right?
Yep.
Behind the stage, you were like, "Hey, do you know this one person? He does this compliance podcast network or whatever."
Yeah,
And
Tom.
I was like, "No, never heard of that." But you were connecting dots. So you're a connector by nature.
And
It's
that's
like,
not everybody's skill set. And I see that. It's a skill set and it's an asset. It's part of my genius zone. When
me
someone
too.
is not a connector by nature, how do you find that they best connect or that you can add value when they aren't naturally used to making those connections?
It's such a great question. So if this isn't their natural thing, first of all, I wouldn't necessarily say it was mine either, but it's kind of a learned skill, right? It requires active listening. And if you can't be an active listener, oh, I think there's a whole lot of other problems that you got going on for you. But there are people out there that aren't. They're always like a step ahead trying to figure out where they're taking the conversation and they're not in the moment listening. They're gonna have a real challenge with that. They would probably for that person, they're probably gonna have to go back, rewind the conversation and figure out where they can fit in and add some value. But I think that it's more important to do it on the spot like you did earlier, right? You were
Yeah,
actively listening to me. You heard what I had to say. You connected a dot on the spot. You were like, "Oh, you should connect with this person." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that'd be super value." You've already added value to me before we even started the podcast
awesome.
because you were actively listening, right?
Yeah, I think it comes from presence, and presence is a skill set these days that definitely needs to be practiced, and I think that
Mm.
that's also why in a podcast interview that sit down in person, you get full presence. Like, there's no other distraction of other tabs that might be open on your screen. So there is a little bit more work that may need to be done. I think it reminds me of one of my mentors, Brendan Bouchard, and how he shared how he used to coach over the phone, and so he was always listening for vocal and intonations because there was no visual. Versus now we have Zoom, and and now it's like, oh, I can see that there's like you may not be breathing when I ask this question, or like you suddenly this question brings like it. You can see the body language. So there's
Mm.
a practice that comes with listening to vocal intonations, understanding, seeing the physiology, and being also able to like there's more than listening that's just the words that are being said.
You know, it's interesting you're saying that because, like, as you were saying that, I was thinking that I actually, when I do a podcast like this one, because it's remote, I'm not even looking at you. I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the camera, right? If I'm looking at you, I'm doing this, and then it
Mhm.
doesn't look right. If I'm looking at the camera, so really, I'm just staring into it. I have a light right here. I'm staring into a thing. I kind of zone I am listening. That's all I
Mhm.
really have because I'm just staring for so long. When you just stare at a camera, like you're not really looking at anything. And a light, I got a light in front of me.
Yeah,
I
staring at a
really
bright
have is
light.
my ear. This is all I really have. So I am just sitting here. I'm just listening,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah,
everything
and
else just kind of zones out.
for me with my screen and how I have it situated, Shelby, who was on our podcast, she's the Zoom makeover queen. And she said, put the Zoom box or the recording box, the video box, right up at the top as close as you can to your camera. So you're not looking down, looking up, looking down, looking up, or if you're not, the person's face isn't super blown up so that you're looking into their eyes versus looking into the camera. So if you can just
Yep.
have that little differentiation between where the top of your head is and the camera is, there's less eye movement that can be distracting in reels, videos, etc. when you repurpose the episode.
Yeah. And see, I've got one of these, it's like a Canon, Canon K. I mean, this is like an actual camera over
Yeah.
here. So it sits up a little higher and anyways, but yeah, I get it. So I just look at the camera because I know I
Yeah.
need to make good eye contact with the camera and I can't, if I look at you in the screen, there's no way, even as high as I can move it up.
Mhm. Yeah, it would be distracting.
But definitely you gotta be actively listening. I think that's a super key important lesson. Just in business in general, like listen to what people are saying. And in networking, one of the things that I like to do is ask questions, get to know the person, what their wants, needs, goals, desires are, what they're trying to accomplish in life, in their business, in their relationships, like, and then figure out how can I make this person's life easier, smoother? How can I could you create a system for them? Something. I'm not saying you go super out of your way, but even just the fact that you tried to help someone, like, it doesn't matter if you actually do or not. That's the thing that I think a lot of people miss. I hear this all the time. Well, I don't know how to help. I don't know. What could I do? It's like, you missed the whole point. Did you try? Did you ask
Yeah.
questions? Like, let's say, for instance, you were talking to me at the beginning of the show and you were asking me, what would help me, what if there's anything I would like to promote or anything I'd like to discuss, blah, blah, blah. And I told you about this course that I'm creating and you connected a dot as soon as I said it. You were like, hey, you need to talk to this guy. He's got the Compliance Podcast Network. Well, let's just say that introduction was an absolute flop and it didn't make sense, but you tried, right? You have still added value to me. Just the fact that you tried to help me adds value. It doesn't matter if all panned out and the stars aligned and all of a sudden me and him have this amazing thing going on. Like, that's irrelevant. The fact that you thought, you were listening, and you tried to connect a dot means the world to me. You tried to help me. You see what I'm saying? So the result is secondary,
Yeah.
right?
The primary thing is just that focus of service.
Mm. Yep.
When asking questions, because I've seen this in other mediums, especially as a business professional, when does it cross over from asking questions to be of service to being sales probing?
Oh. Oh my gosh, it's just gotta be natural. It's gotta be natural. So, I love that you asked that question because I remember going to a meeting and, this woman there, she knew who I was. She had been following my content and all that kinda stuff. When I got there, she was like, "Hey, Trevor." Like, she knew who I was. I didn't know who she was. She knew who I was. Cool, and that's kinda flattering at first, you know? "Oh, thank you." Alright. But then it became, like, over the top. She asked me over and over and over and over and over how she could help me. What could she do for me? How could I help you? How could I add value to you? How could I and I was like, I had to stop her at a certain point. I said, "Look, I know somebody is teaching you this. I appreciate it. Add value. You're trying to network, you're trying to push, add value. I get it. But it's gotta be natural. You're pushing it too much." And I was like,
Mhm.
"I don't know you at all. So I don't know how you could add value to me. You keep asking me, 'How can I help you?' I'm like, I don't know. I don't know you." Right? If I knew anything about you, maybe I could tell you, but I don't know you. So you just keep asking this question, and it's like you're starting. I hate to say it this way, you're starting to get on my nerves a little bit. Like it's really ugh.
Yeah.
Like, and I tried to be really like careful of how I was saying it to her, but because I didn't want to be a jerk, but I
Yeah.
was also trying to like say, hey, look, the way you're coming off is just like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to build a relationship with me, which that's great. But let's do that naturally, you know?
Yeah. I think of podcast interviews and sales very much like dating,
Mhm.
where when it's
Yes.
been on this date once years ago, way before my husband. And the guy, I swear, every hour, maybe 30 minutes, was asking me, "We're having fun, right?" Like we went to a theme park and he was like, "We're having fun, right?" And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like really pressured. No, I'm not having fun. I feel very pressured to have fun now. And it was that constant sort of need. And I think of that when you say, like, oh, somebody constantly asking, am I adding value? Like, how can I add value? What if we just, we're human and
Right.
had a conversation?
Yeah, what if I liked you? Like, what if you said some things and I laughed and I was like, this person's funny and we had a dialogue and I'm like, I think this person's cool. That would add value too. Just being like an awesome person can add value. You don't have to necessarily like give somebody something. You know what I'm saying? Like you can make them smile. That's adding value. I don't think people realize this stuff. There was a lady, literally, she's a one of the receptionists over here in my office, and I walked in today, and today I was in a great mood. Some days way up there, more than the days that I'm not, but I had great energy coming in the door. She's pregnant and like further along, and I could tell some days she's doing great, some days she's kind of struggling, right? And so today was kind of one of those struggling days, and I came in with a high energy and it was contagious. It rubbed off on her and it turned her mood up. Like and we had a conversation about it too. She was like, your energy is really contagious and like it's lifted me up. And I was like, that's great. That's awesome. But negative energy is the same way, right?
100%, especially for empathic people. You feel it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But that's an important lesson for people to know too, is that the energy you're putting out there can add value to someone's life. Right? It's
Mhm.
not necessarily like, "Hey, how can I help you? What can I do for you? How can I" like, be a nice person?
Be cool. Yeah. I learned that from a client of mine in my first business. I was teaching Pilates, and He said he was a Jewish man. He had lost a lot of his family in the Holocaust. And he said,
Mm,
Kim, I learned from my father that you could change the world with a smile.
mm,
Imagine if just a few people had smiled at some pretty bad people a few a few more times. And I was like, wow, you really can with just being able to bring that joy and
mm.
bring it an energy of presence and care about
Yes.
someone else's life. And it's not the care of like, I know I'm supposed to care because I'm taught that I should care to get something from you because I'm taught I should care. It's like actually truly just giving a shit.
Mhm. No, you're absolutely right. I'll tell you something else that's I think is pretty cool is the whole pay it forward concept, right? Like if you've ever seen that movie, Pay It
Mm, my
Forward,
God, tearjerker.
all right? The kid's name, it's so funny. The kid's name is Trevor in the movie. And I like adopted it. Like that whole strategy of helping three people and then those 3 people help 3 people, and those 3 people help 3 people, and it creates this massive ripple effect. So in one of the programs that I run, it's called the Career Transition Summit. I do it all. I have a ton of value that I give for free. And there's some reasons behind that. It's for job seekers, so I don't want to charge them. So I totally could, but I don't want to. But so I added the value of like what they actually get. And it's like a $3,000 value that they get for free. Okay. Caveat, I'm only going to ask for one thing. The only thing I'm going to ask is that you help me to make an impact by paying it forward. So, in order to get access to this $3,000 program, you have to refer me 3 job seekers. And then I'm going to teach those 3 job seekers to do the same thing. They're going to get it for free, but they're going to have to refer 3. So, it just, right? Like everybody's
Mhm.
getting the value. They all get the value, but all they have to do is pay it forward. All right. And, it's pretty cool how that worked, and it's very successful, actually. It just, stacks on, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
I am not surprised at the success of the program. It's that go-giver mentality and being able to pay it forward. That's abundance on steroids versus the scarcity mindset of like, well, I don't know, is someone gonna buy? And I think that that scarcity mindset, there's a reason why it keeps you broke.
Mm,
So versus the abundance mindset of the giver, when you have more than enough, when you're overflowing, there's always more to be given. I have a thing in my company that I've practiced for years called karmic connections, where I just every day I'll make 1 to 3 just random connection emails just because I can. Just
mm.
because, I'll and I do my best to do it every day, but it's just been a game changer for amplifying our reach. And I always say, it's never about the connection. I always try to make the highest, best connections I can. But it's looking at that space of like, who can I really serve and support today from that place of abundance and more than enough? It's a game changer.
I love that. That's so cool. So you make 3 introductions a day. That's pretty amazing.
1 to 3.
1 to
I
3.
Yeah.
But that's still like there's little things that you can do. Another thing that I do that adds a lot of value actually is sending out little voice memos. You know how you can send a little voice like a text message, but it's a little voice memo, right? And there's a lot of reasons why you do that. They get to hear your voice, the tone, right? But what you do is you send out, a quick 30-second little voice memo to the people that you love and appreciate the most. They're going to be in your phone. By the way, when you do podcast interviews, if you're scheduling, which you should be using like tools like Calendly and things like that,
Mhm.
you're going to get their phone number. You're going to get their email address. You're getting contact information of some highly successful people. So add that to your Rolodex. Okay. And what you want to do, set up a little voice memo.
Yeah.
No, and just tell them how much you appreciate them and say, hey, listen, no reason to hit me back. I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for your time and all the wisdom and all of those mic drop moments you left on the show. I know my audience loves it. I just want to tell you I stinking love you, and I hope we can stay, in connection. If there's anything I can do for you, holler at me. Don't hesitate to let me know. And you say that in a little voice memo, and you'd be shocked at the type of responses you'll get back. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's pretty powerful too. It's
Yeah,
the
and
little things.
It is the little things, and I think sometimes people have this perception that the bigger you are, the less problems you have. Like, I'm like, "No, the bigger you get, like, you're gonna have more problems," like, problems that most people at a different level would be like, "Oh my god, you're dealing with what?" So the perception that problems magically disappear the more successful and visible you become is ridiculous because, I mean, just go look at a comment thread of somebody's post.
Mm,
You'll see the feedback and the negative Nellies and the people attacking them and how they learn to cultivate this presence and show up regardless. And just being able to compliment them, drop them a voice message or a text or a DM that says like, "Hey, I see that you're struggling, like, and I just want to acknowledge how strong you are, how awesome you are for doing what you're doing and for still being brave and courageous enough to put what you're putting out into the world. I really respect that.
that's
It it
so good. That's
it,
so good.
it goes so far.
You know, when you said that, a couple things came to mind. So, first of all, this is another way for those that are on social media that are posting content, frequently, and maybe you get that hater. Okay, you ever got that hater and is
Yep.
trolling in the comments? Okay, they're over there just, they're just trolling in the comments. Okay, cool. Well, hurt people, right? Hurt people. So when somebody's going, they're hurting and they're hurting for attention. There's something going on in their life. Whatever your post was about, it just triggered them. Okay. They don't know you. You don't know them. Don't take it personal. It's just something in your post triggered them and they're hurting. And if you can take that lens of empathy and go, okay, let me put myself in their shoes. Why, what the heck is going on here? Like, you almost come from it as a position of concern. Like, I'm concerned for
Mhm.
this person. What's going on? Right. So instead of getting back in the comments, like, and you just going back and forth and it ruins everyone's day, right? And it's never going to solve the problem. They're never going to, in the comments, they're never going to switch sides and be like, you know what, Trevor, you're right. I shouldn't have said that. It's never going to happen.
It doesn't happen.
No, they will double down on their stance, right?
Cognitive dissonance.
Yep. So, but if you go to a DM instead, take it out of the public forum of comments, because that's in the public's eye, right? Everybody can see that. Take it out of there. Go to the DM, send them a DM, and just say, hey, listen, you know, I noticed, my post, struck a chord there, definitely wasn't my intention. I just wanted to reach out and let me ask, is everything okay? Like, are you doing all right? Can I help you in any way? Is there anything I can do for you? Like, this is where, in the Bible, it talks about turn the other cheek, right? You're
Yep.
literally asking how you can help them, how you can serve them. Is there anything I can do for you? Like, hey, listen, I could see where you felt that way. Show empathy and then ask them if you can help them. Is there anything I can do for you? And what will happen is 9 times out of 10, now not always, some people are just crazy. All right. Some people are just crazy. And you have to know that. But like 9 times out of 10, what happens is you'll turn that hater into a raving fan. You'll flip
Mm.
them because they'll feel guilty. Right? Oh, yeah, I was just having a bad day, whatever, oh, I'm sorry, man. I was being a jerk. Hey, dude, no, it's all good, man. No worries. And you're able to have that conversation in the DM,
Mhm.
telling you now in the comments, they're defending you. They're defending you against other trolls that pop up in there, right? That's another troll pops up and they're like, no, Trevor's, now you got people fighting for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it comes from that deep care. Love that strategy for navigating, like, the haters and the troll because I think especially people have gotten particularly vicious in the past few years.
Mm.
Quite frankly, I feel like a lot of people have unhealed trauma from just the pandemic and what we
Oh
all
my gosh.
collectively went through over the past few years and
Yeah.
haven't really fully processed it. And thus it comes out in strange ways that
Yeah.
thus, if we can approach it as leaders and as people who are constantly giving other people a platform and a space to share their voice and share their stories and lead and guide with empathy, that's a
Mhm.
beautiful strategy to just be able to say, like, see you are more than just your pain and your hurt.
Yep. 100%.
Magical.
Now sometimes, again, sometimes you're like, "Okay, I think Amberly says this, bless them and block them.
Oh, I'm using that.
Bless
Lessons.
them and block them. Like,
Yeah.
gotta go, because 'cause I'm not gonna allow that energy, because it will. A troll, their energy will just, if you allow it
Mhm.
to, it can just mess you up, and it's like, "No, no, no, bless them and block them. Bye. You ain't got time for that."
Yeah. Yeah,
Um
I had one recently that I was like, I gave it the 5 interactions, and I said, that's it." So, the one back and forth, and then I said, "You know what? I'm just gonna wish them well on their entrepreneurial journey. Apparently, what I offer is not for them, and that's okay. I'm okay with that." And bless. And then what we have in our company is we have a place called the Dungeon, and
Mm,
it's a spreadsheet of podcasters who have sold inappropriately to our clients directly after a podcast interview. Like hard
mm,
sell, just using the podcast as a pipeline, or manipulated our client stories. Or we've never had it happen with a client, but like I've had it happen with a couple friends and colleagues. Manipulated a story in order to sell products and services, or just being a hater. We just have a lovely list. We send it love, and but that is the list of like those people we don't allow into our community because they don't stand by our values of being responsible, encouraging, authentic, and leading with laughter.
not everybody's gonna. Not
Yeah.
everybody is going to, yep.
Yeah. Trevor, I have loved having you on this show. You delivered so much value, so many beautiful, practical, tangible tips of ways to even add even more exponential value from being on somebody's podcast or having your own podcast. I'd love to know. I know you have a course coming up for financial advisors and insurance professionals. Can you share a little bit more about that and what you
Yeah.
actually do behind the podcast?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking me that. So, I'm in the financial services industry, and, it can be pretty challenging, to create content to market yourself, and I mean, everybody, you need marketing, right? So, uh, originally, I started the podcast 6.5 years ago, and I started it at what was classified as an OBA, which is outside business activity, which means I could do the podcast as long as I didn't talk about my business. Huh. But I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. What we'll do is we'll create a value add podcast. Okay. So instead of me talking about my business all the time, I'm just going to do things. I'm going to create a podcast that attracts my target audience, right? That adds value to my target audience. It
Mm-hmm.
attracts them in, and they'll find out what I do later, right? Like, well, that conversation can happen later, but let's just attract them in. So, anyways, for years and years, I never talked about my business, what I do, financial services, none of that. Okay. And it actually was very successful. Why? Because I was attracting my target audience. Well, it created a little bit of an issue for me too, a branding issue. Because what was I talking about? Well, I was talking about careers and jobs and how to get back to work and all of these things. And you know what? Your focus becomes your reality. I actually became a career strategist through that process. The world started recognizing me as a career strategist because of the strategies I was, teaching. Well, now that's what I was known for, not what I actually did. That's not a good thing to happen. Like, personal branding, we talk about personal branding, like, that's not what you want, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to be known for what you actually do, right? So
Kind of, just a little bit.
so the world started to recognize me as this career strategist expert, this, that, and the other. I'm getting featured all over the news. I was getting picked up during the pandemic. I got picked up, like, I had, I think, 12 news stories, Fox, BS. I mean, all these channels. Anyway, they picked me up. So now I'm a career expert, right? Okay, cool. But, I went back and I talked, to my compliance team, and I was like, "Listen, this is a little bit of an issue here, right? Like, I gotta be able to do this. So let's figure out a way." And so I've been working with my compliance team to figure out the strategy on how to create compliance friendly content using podcasting as the incubator, right? Like, as the tool. And what's interesting about the strategy is it's, uh, it's so funny because traditionally when it comes to compliance, you have to send up, scripts. If you wanna do a video, you've gotta send they wanna see a script first. And then they're gonna say, "Nope, can't say this, can't say that. Oh, gotta switch this word, gotta switch that word. Nope, can't say this, gotta do it that way," right? And you go back and forth with the script till you're blue in the face. And you finally agree on a script. Typically, they soften it because, like, if it's in any way edgy or like they'll soften it anyway. And then you go record it, and then you got to send it back up through compliance after you record it, right? So it's this long process that's pretty challenging. Well, it's interesting how podcasting gets around a lot of that. Okay, because this process is me and you can have a fluid conversation or even a solo episode where I'm just talking and teaching a subject, right? And I'm speaking naturally. And then with the new AI tools that are out here, all I've got to do is I take that long form video and I transcribe it into text. I take that text and send that transcription up to compliance. And they're going to say, hey, I don't like this and I don't like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. You don't like this word and you don't like that word. Great. Cut, cut, put it together, right? A little editing. And now I've got, let's just say it was a 60-minute podcast. And let's say they chopped out 10 minutes of it. Now I
Mhm.
got 50 minutes of solid content. Now I can create all the clips. Now I can create all the quote cards. Now I can create the articles and you name it. I still have a ton of content I can roll with. Right. And so, creating that content machine compliance friendly, because everything that after we cut out 10% of it, the rest of it's gold ready to go. And I didn't have to write a script to do it. I didn't have to get in front of a teleprompter. I sound authentic and genuine because I am having just a normal conversation, right? I don't sound like a
Yeah.
robot. So I was like, wow, aha, light bulb moment, right? So through the process of working with them, I've figured out how to do it and I got the blueprint. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm creating a course on this because there are so many financial advisors, insurance financial professionals who they don't create content at all. They don't market their business. And I'm like, how do you have a business if you can't market it?
Yeah.
Before sales is marketing. There is no sales without marketing.
Yeah, you
There
gotta have
is
traffic to get leads.
Yeah. Like, you even think just basic. Let's go super, super basic. McDonald's hamburger. Okay, cool. But before I pull over and go to the drive-through, what do I gotta see?
The golden arches.
The golden arches. I gotta know
Yep.
where it is. I gotta see it. McDonald's exit 45, right? Like, that's marketing. And it's like, wow, there is no sales without marketing. And so, yeah, it's real important what I'm doing right now because I've also watched other insurance and financial professionals
Mhm.
fail. I've
Oh,
watched them struggle. I've watched them starve. I've watched them, no lie, one guy committed suicide. Like, I've watched it really, really, really hurt people because they're not able to get their business off the ground because they feel handcuffed and they can't really speak about what they do. How are you supposed to sell anything if you can't speak about what you do? Or if you do speak about it, there's all this red tape and layers that make it really
yeah.
difficult, right?
Yeah.
So this is going to free people. Like, this course is really going to take those handcuffs off, allow them to just talk, just be you. And if they don't like something, we just cut it out. Big deal.
Yeah. Brilliant. Like, A, had no idea that that was a problem in the insurance and well, I assumed in the financial advisor world, but B, to be able that solves such a specific problem. It creates so much authenticity for your industry and allows people to thrive. I mean, it's a win-win-win of an opportunity.
Yeah. And it's a win-win for these financial institutions too, because they get to vet every word. Cool. So they know, again, they're in control of
Yeah.
what's being said. Ultimately, they're in control. Doesn't get to see the light of day until that final approval comes through, right? But So they're in control. It allows their field force to go out there and market themselves, which is ultimately going to drive more business and more revenue for the company. So it's a win for them too. And
Yeah.
it's all compliance friendly. It is a win-win-win. Like everybody wins in this scenario. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I've been in the process of creating it, and it's supposed to launch in December. I'm working with Thrive Courses. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
Yep, working with them right now and going through their process to create it, because that's another thing. Like I've gone through hell and back creating. I've created another course in the past, and like you're trying to learn it all, and like creating a course is like creating a whole nother business. There's so
Yeah.
much to it.
Yeah. Especially to do it with excellence and intention and making sure that it's really certain, and especially one that involves compliance. That too.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you're talking about creating, to sell, you got to sell the course, right? So you got to create email campaigns, and you got to create landing pages, and you got to create there's just a lot to it when you really look at it. It's not just, oh, I'm going to make some videos.
Yeah.
No, no, it's more than that. They can go to YouTube for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A
So
course is an in-depth process. It allows people to get a certain specific result and outcome.
yeah, you've got to get them the end result. You need worksheets, and you need, all these resources to go along with it to help them achieve the goal ultimately. And so, but yeah, I'm super excited about it. Like I said, I'm in the process of creating it right now. It's supposed to launch in December.
Well, we are excited to put a waitlist page and go sign up early. And if you're in the financial advisor or insurance profession, and because as you have seen from this interview, Trevor truly cares and delivers with heart, value, and is constantly thinking of ways to add value and be of service. And I really admire that about you, Trevor, like very much so, in your heart to just serve others, not only with a smile, but also with practical, tangible strategies that can actually help them improve their lives.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Where can we find you? How can we work with you?
The one of the best places to connect with me would be LinkedIn. That's my jam. I'm always over there hanging out. So come connect with me on LinkedIn. Just Trevor Houston, Houston like the city, Houston. And yeah, just let me know when you send a note that you heard this podcast, and yeah, I'll connect with you.
Awesome. Awesome. Trevor, thank you so much for coming on the show. It has been an honor and a privilege to have you. As always, Communication Queens, make sure you stand out and let your voice be heard.
Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. For more tips on guest podcasting, storytelling, and communication strategies, follow us on social media at Communication Queens Agency and visit us at communicationqueens.com. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And in the meantime, remember, your story has the power to save one life. Let your story and your voice be heard.